Jeremiah 23 and Hoods. We're going to be looking at South Africa and oppression. Part 2.
It's a lawlessness, but, and I say but with that because there has been $31 billion given to them. So when you look at that, $31 billion in aid during the earthquake, you begin to see that we can see the outbursts. They just, couldn't handle it no more. Whatever the case, the money, if it didn't reach the people, then that's what...
In the heart of a township on the outskirts of Johannesburg, people seized and stole at will, as they have done for the past few days. And there is little or no fear of the authorities here. Turmoil and anarchy have gripped some of South Africa's largest cities, and the government has had to respond with armed police and members of the military. But the looters and the rioters are fleet of foot, and rubber bullets do not seem to scare them. We followed the authorities down a local thoroughfare, but they only managed to catch one man before they handed the area back to the troublemakers. We found the South African police minister, Mbeki Cele, doing a walkabout through the rubble, but he didn't want to answer our questions. Minister, do you have the situation here under control? Do you have the situation here under control? Because it doesn't look like it. The unrest began after the country's former president, Jacob Zuma, was arrested. But a series of protests have grown into something far more troubling. Here on an estate near Durban, residents filled their arms with televisions, microwaves, and bikes plundered from a distribution center. In Johannesburg, shops and businesses have been targeted or destroyed despite the efforts of the police. Although they caught up with looters at this supermarket as they battled to escape through the back. In a place called Tembisa, the shops and the post office have been set alight. All of the shops in this plaza have been looted, but they're also destroying them as well, setting fire. Individual shops, there must be half a dozen now, have gone up in flames, but they're still here picking through the ruins. You can hear them in this shop. You can see them up on the counter. I don't like being filmed. I think we should go. A fight back of sorts has begun to emerge as community groups seek to save the businesses that provide them with jobs. But they can't count on the authorities, and the looters feel no sense of self-restraint. John Sparks, Sky News, in Johannesburg.
So you see, a lot of the buildings that's being burned also in other areas, many areas are in, well, I'll show you a clip so you can see what I'm saying.
In South Africa, we're seeing some of the worst political violence in that country since apartheid, and the death toll is now up to at least 72. This comes after former President Jacob Zuma was sent to jail. Deborah Pata is in a suburb of Johannesburg, which has seen some of the most violent disturbances. Deborah, good morning.
Good morning. South Africa is on its knees after days of violence, but so far security forces have been slow to bring the unrest under control. Hordes of looters stormed hundreds of retail stores in South Africa, grabbing anything they could get their hands on. Outnumbered and overwhelmed, police struggled to contain the violence. Police fire bullets, tear gas, but the looters are undeterred. There's not one shop here that hasn't been attacked and completely ransacked. Dozens are dead. This man was injured in the mayhem. Nobody stopped to help him. And in one heart-stopping moment, this toddler was rescued from a building set ablaze by rioters. The violence was triggered by the jailing of former President Jacob Zuma for refusing to appear before a commission investigating corruption during his 9-year tenure. His supporters took to the streets, but it has now boiled over. epic rage fueled by persistent poverty that's been exacerbated by a deadly third wave of the COVID pandemic. But for the shop owners, victims of that rage, it was all too much. Over 1,000 arrests have been made, and now the South African military has been deployed to hotspots, but thrown into this mix are armed militias taking the law into their own hands.
If they start shooting, there will be war, and there's nothing that we don't want here in South Africa. South Africa is a peaceful country.
But for 5 straight days, that peace has been shattered in the deadliest violence this country has seen in the more than 27 years since apartheid ended. Of immediate concern now, some food supply chains have been disrupted, an oil refinery has been closed, and the transport of oxygen to fight this pandemic has been hampered.
Boy, that was Deborah Powder reporting from South Africa.
Okay, so we've seen the situation over there in South Africa. At the same time, you have the chaos in Haiti. So when we look at what's going on in South Africa, we look at Haiti, we see chaos. You know, not long ago, I had a dream about a volcano, and there's been several volcanoes, one in Iceland, one in Africa, one in Italy, and it was a recent one. I can't remember that country, but it's like that's what oppression is like. It's like a big cover-up, and then when the thing explodes, it's like all of the filth and all of the uncleanness and all of the, like blowing an airbag or a volcano, spewing out the corruption. Just not long ago, $13 billion went into Haiti. They're tearing up their country because of corruption. Here in South Africa, it's like, well, how do these people still in a microwave? You should already have one, you would think, right? How do you get in that position where you don't have a microwave and you have the richest country in the world with minerals? You have gold, diamonds in Africa. I'm just looking at the minerals and the resources. How do a people go out and take food out of a supermarket? If you have abundance of food, you have a microwave, you have the necessities you need, there's no reason to go somewhere. I guess something like Sweden, I guess the crime rate is low because the people don't mind paying a little bit more, the rich, so that the people that are in the bottom or middle, making sure they have the best health care and etc., paying a little bit more, you know, seems to bring peace. But if you have a real unjust balance and it's hidden, that's what oppression looks like. It comes out in an expression of I need. You know, I don't think that looks like greed. I'm pretty sure greed is in there. You probably didn't need but one chicken, but you got 5. But the thing is, everyone's saving up for a rainy day. You know, so they ran to the stores in South Africa. And that's what's just like in Los Angeles, just like in the riots in the inner cities. Why are people desperate to get things when they're given the opportunity? Now, we can call them all criminals and thugs. You know, that's one way of titling it. But who is the bigger thug that has the power in their hand to help impoverished countries and people and hoods here in the United States and around the world? You know, you have your West Cape, Cape Town, in the flats. You have your places where you literally go and smoke crack. How does crack get all the way from, they grow cocaine in Africa? So to sanction countries that bring drugs would be how you deal with drugs, right? So how they wind up in these neighborhoods? Who makes money off the prisons? Things like that. Who benefits off poverty? Who loves control? Who who's the big boys that really have the power? Why do politicians sell to people out such as Haiti, where they didn't want him in there for one side for a year because of they felt corruption. $13 billion didn't trickle down, but more than trickle down, be reinvested into the communities, bring up their life. In other words, if you're skimming off the top and you're a leader and you're at the top of anything, especially if you're African American or African, because of the great intense poverty, listen to what I'm saying, and because people are just downright tired of people making promises, but the ones making the promises with great speeches are servants of corruption. You know, we can look at, again, the Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Idi Amin. People, you know, some people say was in the Congo or in Uganda. Ethiopia, corruption in Africa, corruption in America, corruption in Europe. Look what the Britons did to the Middle East when they went. Look what happened when we first went to Haiti, the Americans and the French. They asked them to leave. What happened when Britain went to Iran? What happened? 20% they made in profit for the oil. Yeah, not the Iranians, but not the Britons, but the Iranians got 20%. So anytime you see people coming to help you and making promises, and then they leave you where you don't have nothing, you'll have that. People going to steal a microwave, what we just saw. Stuff like that. Poverty, it brings destruction. And there's the volcano, there's the destruction right there. Now you can call them criminals, but when we look at land and who has taken it, Michael Tutu, you know, and who, that's the book of Micah in the Bible, and the book of Amos and what his backdrop was, the rich and the poor. When we see the gaps between a so-called family that's supposed to be world, that's supposed to be family, but in fact, it's not. It's an individual. It's like a father taking all the money from everybody and giving nothing back. No mature ones, no government, just children saying, I want what I want. Mentalities. And when you don't share wealth and you try to capitalize and have a democracy and set it up like one, but really it's skimming off the top. You know, the profits. How does a man like the president in Uganda and over in the Congo, how do you have more than the double than the national debt? How do you, President Muhammad, you represent democracy, but just like here, you have 1%, 2%. But you say we are a democracy. Well, capitalism, just because it's there, don't make it good. You can capitalize to the fullest. Slave trade was a capitalist exemption. Enterprise. So just because you have business and enterprise and capitalism doesn't make the system good. If it doesn't serve the people and obey the tree and give life freely, listen to what I just said. Life. Things that are necessities of life. Then, of course, you're doing your little thing. It's just a matter of time before things blow up like this. People get tired of being used. People get tired of being stereotyped. People get tired of being manipulated and controlled by the wealthy. People get tired of the rising of rents and real estate. And every time you turn around, your reward after COVID-19 is the people that told you you're in together. You can just look at Walmart. You go in there and get the ground beef. It was $10 maybe a year ago, $14. And during COVID-19, as soon as you come out of COVID-19, the same ground beef 97%, it's going to be $21. How do you explain that kind of inflation for your disabled, your elders, and people on budgets and pensions that save? So a society that is bent on greed will consume itself like an anaconda. And it's like an alligator that got swallowed up in the anaconda. He pops out the side and busts out the seams. Desperate. So you see a lot of desperation because of poverty. That's why everybody that is a capitalist is trying to get as much as money as they can right now. Yet to capitalize for my safety and your safety, that we try to be as far from poverty as possible. So no one's really loving their neighbor as their self, as Carnegie, as Dale Carnegie had written in his book, How to Influence People. And like crab crawling out of a barrel. So the mentality is based on materialism, the fear of lack, and yet God has given us abundance of all things. So here's what we don't do. Now, if I can say this as African American, especially in African American leaders, because we have one right now, Pamela Harris, she won't even go stop the drugs. And believe me, it has been 2 big catches with truckloads full of drugs. And she just won't go down there as a black representative of the African American people. I know she's supposed to represent all the people, but at least understand this woman has to know that they locked up a lot of the African American people behind these drugs, just like they did in the Civil War when they made a rebuild. The South, they had to break a law, then they would rebuild for free. So look at chapter 13 on YouTube. You know, we just have to recognize, man, that the new leadership is going to have to be hands-free. $13 billion in Haiti. The people have to be telling the story. We're still poor. This didn't jumpstart nothing. Where's the money? Look at Venezuela. Where's the money? Look at parts of Africa. Where's the money? All those diamonds in Congo and West Africa, and you mean to tell me the people that work the diamond fields get pennies, live in shacks? The Chinese got to come over there for the gold and give them a decent place to live? Really? Well, why didn't the Christian nations been thought about that? Why take the communists to come in and give them a house, help them in a community for free? So all this taking, and you say you believe the volcano is full. Don't stick one more person up on leadership, lest he blow the stack out there. Because if they love money and covetousness and bribery, if they love, you can't speak the truth in power, they won't have you around. If they love greediness and covetousness and
my daughter's
making deals with the cronies,
and I'm trying to find out if
then
you are and if you aren't. We're the
don't set them at the top. It's a consuming fire. It's hot now. That's a hot seat to be in. And if you're African American, it's triple hot. Anything black in Africa or here, you are taking from your people. And the majority of black people have been plagued for centuries with poverty. And because of the selling out, even our own to slavery. Brother, we have to repent from that. And we have to turn from that wicked way of the oppressor. And remember that we were once in slavery ourselves. And we can figure out a way to give. I suggest Deuteronomy 14 talks about taking tithes and helping not only the things of God, but the will of the Father and the stranger, or them that have no help. Okay? With money. Though, in that case, it was necessity, food. If you can't do money, do food then. Deuteronomy 15, opening up our hands wide to the poor. Yeah, we can use the 3rd year and 7th year, like the Bible says. Deuteronomy 15, doesn't matter. We want to give something big to wipe out lack of no one having necessities. God's plan. Then we want to move to Deuteronomy 26 and make sure we have done it. And read the whole thing. And say, I have given my tithes to priests the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and have not eaten it myself. And then when we do that gladly and know we got our brothers back, those that lost lose jobs or don't have the rent, or we don't have to worry about the state and the government bailing them out. We have a system over here in God's storehouse where we can help those in our household of faith and even help some of the strangers. And as many as are far off, and as many as the Lord our God shall call to help. Why is that? It's our opportunity to shine because the world is taken. Look at Haiti. Look at South Africa. Everybody worried about their financial security. And we can show at least the same care that we have for one another. And Christ says, they'll know you're my disciples, the true ones, following after my wholesome word, by the love you have for one another. Why not have
I mean, you can hear it. I'm recording it too.
love
YouTube.
without respect? Why not have the same care for the unpopular, the ones that's not known? Their relatives will see that witness and believe that our documentation, which we have shown to them, that we have each other's back. Not only do we meet the need of the necessity and not allow the government to do it time after time, if possible, but we must do it as a witness to show our sincerity in the faith and the gospel, because people have made the gospel a business. Just like hate, leaders corrupt, running off or not distributing the money correctly. People have needs. There's a revolution. They won't come to church. They're dying in the streets. They'd rather die out there than come to your local church in your hoods.
Right.
In Chicago, LA, Detroit. Yeah, there's a reason for that. Go on YouTube, look at a church fight, put it in, and it'll show you a guy that was telling them, there's people in my community that don't have baby. And the offering was $1,000, $300. And you know, constant IOUs in Detroit, where the government left the people, General Motors, the people that we trust in the capitals, they ran off to another country, left the country without the jobs. The middle class went down and was flooded with drugs. Then what happened? They locked them up. Didn't sanction the countries that send the drugs, but they locked them up, and they work for Levinson and federal penitentiaries. So you tell me, if the leadership loses its salt with money, then it's trodden underfoot by the amount of power. So we have to get back to salt by turning from our wicked ways of usury and just on the bottom, let it flow to the top, but let it flow from the top to the bottom. Acts 4:32 that. Simply put, out of our hands, we distribute to the necessities, at least of the saints. So there will be a documented testimony and witness over the next 10 years that we have the same care and love for one another. No, we don't have respect to persons. If we see one of our family members, we step to that need. No, there's not an empire with somebody sitting over the money and their assets, refinancing and doing all kinds of stuff. No, the money is for the family, and we take care of the household of faith. And then we can govern a nation, you see? Or else we be like they do. The leaders got the money, and the people still have necessities and struggle. Thus you have revolution, and people decide, I'm not going to church. I believe the preacher, all he's about is the money. But we prove them wrong, answer the objection, have the same care, distribute to the necessity of the saints, and let our light shine over these next 10 years. God bless you. Jeremiah 23. It's gotta be a constant performance.
I used to go downtown the
Jeremiah 23 and Hoods, thank you very much. Have a wonderful day. And don't forget, oppression kills.